Hello, snowboarders of the internet. I'm your host, Avran LeFeber, and in this video, we're going to be reviewing the GNU Banked Country. This board features Mervin's directional C3 camber profile, so it's set back, and basically it's camber underfoot with a slight dip in the middle. That's going to help with the torsional play. And then out towards the tips, it actually gets a little flat before it goes into the up kick. So when you load those camber sections, it helps elevate it. That's going to give you ease of entry in and out of turns, as well as more optimal powder float. This board is available in 155, 159, 162, 160 wide, and 163 wide. I rode this board at Copper Mountain on a sunny bluebird day that had soft, creamy snow, perfect corduroy, chopped chunder, and just a little bit of slush, and I rode it with my Rome Black Label bindings and my K2 Thraxis boots. So if you look at this board, clearly it's going to be directional, and that means directional flex. Softer nose, progressively stiffening back up to the tail. It sits firmly in the free ride category, but somewhere above middle of the road, but not quite in the full plank category. And there are some key flex points. So you have a little bit more give in the nose, and then in the flat section leading into the front insert, that's pretty much where it's gonna flex in the nose. You have that dip of the reverse between the feet on the C3, and it's very minimal. That's also gonna allow for torsional flex. And then in the tail, there's a tiny little flex point like right outside the foot where you can kind of sit on it if you have to push just to get the nose up. When it comes to stability, this board is going to be damp. It's a Mervin manufactured board. They use a little bit more epoxy. That just tends to cause it to be a little more damp. So any flap or chatter that you get in the nose when you're charging will slightly resonate till right before the front foot, and then it just dissipates. And the rest of this board just takes over and it becomes smooth. If you hit something that's really frozen, yes, you're gonna get jarred. You're gonna feel that coming up, but on a groomer, you're not really feeling shit with this thing. It just dissipates all that kinetic energy and allows you to keep going forward without fatiguing your ankles, knees, or hips. So the snap on this board is solid for what it is. That C3 camber profile does not fight you when you need to load it up, which allows you to be a little more laid back. You don't have to be as aggressively calculated to pop off a roller or anything, or even if you're getting into some power, some chunder, chop, whatever, and you're just boosting off stuff. So it allows you to roll back, and there's that little flex spot in the tail. When it engages that, it's like a spring, and you notice that it will rebound, and you're gonna get it up in the air. Is it the snappiest board out there? No, but will it get the job done? Yes, and for the type of board that it is solid. I'm not sure where you're at on this review, but if you remembered to click like, are you subscribed? Have you clicked the bell to get those notifications? That way you don't miss any of the videos we've got coming out for you. Good, because if you haven't, you should do it. Otherwise, you're a sinner. Would this be my first choice to butter with? Second, fifth? No, not at all. But if you're coming in hot and there's a little pow field, you pop a 180, you're gonna be able to press into the nose. It's gonna hold, it's gonna give you a little bit of spring, you pop it back out, you go on your way. With the tail, that's a different story. You got that sweet spot, that tiny little flex point outside the feet. That's gonna allow you to sit on it and really flex and do a high speed wheelie. So if you're just looking to just kind of lean on your tail, really press into it, get that nose up, do a quick wheelie or something over a roller, yeah, you're gonna be fine. But if you're hoping to butter around on this, I don't even know why you're looking at this board. Like, you have issues. You do. You need to go see a therapist. So with the first generation of this board, the progressive magnet traction, which is magnet traction set back that's more mellow, so it starts out mellow and it gets more aggressive towards the rear foot, was way more pronounced. On this one, they've actually mellowed it out, and it changes the dynamic of how this board will carve, and it's for the better in my opinion. You can actually lead it off the front foot more. You don't have to be riding it from the middle back through the tail unless you want to. This helps with short, tight, quick setup carves. It keeps a good pace. You can roll in and out of the turn and just set it up without having to be over calculated. Now, when it comes to medium carves, this helps you guide it in, then steer it underfoot and feel locked in. And then when you're exiting the carve, you can put a little more power on the tail and drive it out of those. Now, those deep, hard, aggressive carves, that comes from the middle of the board back through the tail, right? And that's kind of how the first generation was with this board. You had to ride it way more back foot. This time, you can ride it more weight centered until you really want to get aggressive. Then you're basically engaging it from where it says CTRY, right here, or where the GNU 3D is, back. You're gonna be able to push into that C3, get that power, slingshot you out of the turn, transition it over. You are gonna need a little more speed than you think with this, but it will lock in and hold those carves. You can really lay it over, get your arm out, drag your armpit if you want to, bring it back around, put your hand behind you and push into it. This board locks in, it carves exceptionally well for what it is. They actually refined what the first generation was like to this one, and this is better in my opinion. This turns more on a dime without having to be as calculated and worrying that you don't have enough power or speed to control the carve. This allows you to be a little more mellow, but if you absolutely need to push it, it's not gonna buckle on you and you can drive it. That's the nice thing. The other thing is with that C3 profile and that flex point between the feet, when you're swooping a carve and you're steering from the front foot, when you go to disengage it, you can get it to grip from there back through the tail while still ankle steering. This will allow you to lay a deep carve really quickly and then go into a medium or a more mellow carve if you have to. Rider in mind. So who is this board for? It's for the resort rider that's smashing carves, crushing pow, turning, needs some power from the middle of the board back through the tail, but doesn't want something that's gonna be super aggressive and force them to bring their A game at all times. If you like what we're doing over here and you want to support us further, swing on over to Angry Snowboarder VIP and become a member. Sure, I could tell you more here, but I got a video over there that explains it so much better. So the big thing with this board is they made it a little softer. They mellowed out that progressive magnet traction. It's more approachable in my opinion. This is going to be better for the everyman, but it really didn't sacrifice like the performance of what this board can do. If anything, it just made it easier to initiate a turn. Yeah, it's softer from the middle of the board to the nose, but I feel like it still kind of retains that same level of power and drive and flex from the middle back through the tail. If anything, this kind of feels like they merged the Steely D, which was a board that I absolutely loved and I'm bummed isn't in the LibTech lineup this year, into this, and it works. It works exceptionally well. This board was phenomenal for what I was riding that day, and it just excelled. Would I have a problem taking this into a bank slalom? No, not at all. It's gonna be able to hold when you get into those icier turns because of the magnet traction. It's gonna give you power out of the tail. This thing was a blast, and in POW, it's the same thing. That nose is gonna elevate. You're gonna get power from the middle of the board back through the tail just to sink it and then slash those turns. This is a good board. Like, I think a lot of people have been sleeping on this, and that first generation from the first review that I did, it was a little more aggressive. This is, as I said, more approachable. Comparable boards: the Salomon Super 8 Pro, the Korua Bullet Train, the Jones Freecarver 9000. Binding recommendations: the Bent Metal Solution, the Union Atlas Pro, the Jones Apollo. This has been my review of the GNU Banked Country. If you don't think this is the board for you, why don't you go check out one of the other reviews in our library of decks that we've reviewed. You know you want to go in there. There's definitely something for you, so go watch it.